We're going to get this week started here a little bit early, slightly early, like a couple minutes early, because I like to give you guys a couple minutes to, walk in, hang out, rub your eyes, wake up a little bit. I know it's the middle of the day for most everyone, but how about our West Coasters? Maybe some of our international folks. We need to be a little bit more considerate of our friends. I mean, I think it's the least we could do. So we got a couple minutes here as we're jumping in. I wish I could have done this like an extra 15, 20 minutes ahead of time, but you know how that works. As soon as you plan something to be early, it's not really going to work out that well. The reason I wanted to jump in early is because there's a lot. And when I say there's a lot, what I'm saying is that there's a lot. Every weekend, things go down, specifically as Donald Trump has started this illegal war in Iran. The developments aren't really all that great. And this comes from 5 to 6 to 8 different angles. I never get to all of them, but there's a few of them that I would always like to. So if you guys are, happy to see all this all going down, go ahead, like, subscribe. Also share this stream with folks. Maybe they'll be able to like it too. I mean, why not? We're a community, aren't we? I think at times. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got TDR coming up at the top of the hour, of course, at 1 o'clock Eastern with John Idarola. So I can't go over. That's really my main issues here. Or maybe I can. You guys would be here to watch, though. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. Why should I eat up all the 2 minutes that I gave myself to jump in? As I said, it's Warmonger Monday. It's also the best damn day of the week. So let's go ahead and get started here. Maybe you guys saw Donald Trump trying to explain more things, but it wasn't just explanations that he's been pushing lately when it comes to this war in Iran, his war in Iran. More like from tough guy to like a begging guy is actually what this guy is looking more like lately. And it's not a good look for the one who kept talking about how great he is and how he doesn't need anybody. Here he is.
Like, as an example, in many cases, the NATO countries. We're always there for NATO. We're helping them with Ukraine. As many, it's got an ocean in between us. Doesn't affect us, but we've helped them. It'd be interesting to see what country wouldn't help us with a very small endeavor, which is just keeping the Strait open. That, by comparison, it's small because Iran has very little firepower left. Like, as an example, in many cases, the NATO.
The president of the United States is now asking for help. He's requesting help. He's doing even more than asking, requesting, and begging for help. But on Air Force One there, you see him talking about how we always help NATO. This guy, Donald Trump's talking about NATO as if there's some kind of agreement in place that, people should, abide by, or maybe shouldn't be threatening the existence of, NATO, like this guy likes to do. Like I said, he's not just begging, he's doing more.
There's a few people dropping lines here and there, and you lousing up. So we are demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory, because it is their territory. It's a place from which they get their energy, and they should come and they should help us protect it. You could make the case that maybe we shouldn't even be there at all, because we don't need it. We have a lot of oil. We're the #1 producer anywhere in the world times 2. By double, at least double. Now I think it's much higher than that. But we do it. It's almost like we do it for habit. But we also do it for some very good allies that we have in the Middle East.
I wonder if sometimes he's been doing more of these press conferences on the airplanes so that people can't really fully hear what the hell he's saying, but we always hear what the hell he's saying. Apparently, we start this war in Iran. One of the responses from Iranian leaders is to shut down Strait of Hormuz, most specifically for United States and Israel type of movements through there. That's what I've been hearing. That's what's been reported. But now, as Donald Trump alienates the entire world, starting off with his tariffs, now he's demanding. It went from asking and begging and requesting to demanding. In fact, I should demand it. What kind of white supremacist shit is this? You start another war. Talk about how you're this peace president. Then as you get fucked up in this war and have other issues that apparently you didn't see coming, even though you're denying you didn't see it coming, and also denying that you didn't need any help, now you're begging for help, demanding it actually. Why should anybody listen to this guy demanding for help? What is it kind of cards does he hold that he would think anyone else, because it's their territory, as you screw up things happening in other people's territories, it's now their responsibility to clean up your messes. This is the most Donald Trump thing ever, because he's got lackeys saying the same thing.
President Trump said, quote, hopefully China, France, Japan, South Korea, the UK, and others will send ships to the area, unquote. Is he hoping that those countries are going to send ships, or have they committed to sending ships? And how soon will those naval escorts be ready?
Well, I'll leave those, those conversations to him. The conversations are ongoing. I think there's an important point that's getting, kind of missed in the conversation, and that 80% of the oil coming out of the Gulf heads to Asia. Only about 7-8% heads to the Western Hemisphere. And thank God for President Trump's energy dominance agenda. But to your point on escorts, look, back in the 80s, under the tanker wars, then the last time Iran tried to constrain global energy supplies, you had French, United Kingdom, even Soviet Union forces in there escorting their tankers out that were heading to their markets. And I think that's what President Trump is calling upon the world, saying the entire world is affected. Iran can't hold your economies hostage. And we certainly welcome, encourage, and even demand their participation to help their own economies.
More demands for participation to help out their own economies. I always remember Donald Trump talking about other countries and their economies. You're working for the United States of America, but now he needs help. At the same time, he also doesn't need help because he's too big and bad, and the United States military is the best ever. How come these things don't really ever make any sense? So that was Mike Waltz, by the way. He was the one who took the fall for the whole Signal chat leaking, and when they did all those classified messaging with Pete Hegseth and them through the Signal app, he's the one who got sent down to be the UN ambassador, I believe is where his position is now. And now his position apparently is kissing more ass on TV, because Donald Trump doesn't kiss enough ass by himself. This is him begging some more. Now, this is like multi-level versions of him begging for help as a tough guy at the same time. He posted this over the weekend. The United States of America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both military, economically, and in every other way. Don't forget, he said in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot. Bro, you did it. The U.S. will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly, and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be. It'll bring the world together toward harmony, security, and everlasting peace. It should have always been a world team effort to do what Donald Trump wanted to do that no one else would be willing to do, because no one else in the world is stupid enough to do what Donald Trump wants them to do. I mean, that is, unless it's, again, Mike Waltz, who, as you'll see here, regurgitates the same talking points because his job is only to then, take in everything Donald Trump gives him and then spit that back up.
Well, and we know its point of leverage is obviously the Strait of Hormuz, and that is something that continues to be in contention. The president put out on Truth Social yesterday, in part, he says this, that hopefully China, France, Japan, South Korea, the UK, and others that are affected will send ships to the area. There are reports overnight, too, that the UK may have some mine detection drones that may get involved. Any update on where some of those partners may be on actually physically assisting in the straits?
Well, Shannon, another important point that I think is getting kind of lost in the noise here, 80% of the oil that's coming out of the Gulf is heading to Asia. Actually, thanks to President Trump's energy dominance agenda, only 7, 8, 9% is coming to the United States. So it's absolutely correct for President Trump to call on the world to come help, make sure their energy supplies are secure. Enough is enough with Iran holding the world hostage. This goes back many, many decades. You can go back to the 1980s with the tanker, what was called then the tanker wars. And you had France, the United Kingdom, even back then the Soviet Union, escorting its tankers out the last time Iran tried to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. So again, I mean, we have to take a step back. President Trump has had enough with admiring this problem. He's had enough with the Iranian regime holding the world hostage in so many ways, either with its missiles, with the Straits, with, God forbid, with a nuclear weapon. And he's calling upon the world to take care of this problem once and for all.
Well,
calling on the world to take care of this problem once and for all. I mean, once and for all, because, you know, the world has been clamoring to invade Iran and then have everything get screwed up. And then as the Strait of Hormuz is they're controlling right now, only stopping, as again, what's reported, American interest types of shipments going through and Israeli interests going through. I assume many of their allies as well. I'm sure people are hurting. That's one of the main reasons why, when you don't have $1 trillion military, you fight in any other way that you can. The weird thing is that this guy really didn't know what he was doing. So the threats are all he's got left. Okay, like I said, it's been requests, questions, hopes, demands. I guess he's taken it to even more folks, because I remember he mentioned NATO there at the beginning and how they should be helping his dumb ass. Here's some quotes about what he thinks of NATO and what he's going to tell them now. He says it's only appropriate that people who are the beneficiaries of the strait will help to make sure that nothing bad happens there. That's what he told Financial Times, I believe. And he said that Europe and China are more heavily dependent on oil from the region than the US. It's also what Mike Waltz kept saying. More quotes. If there's no response, or if it's a negative response, I think it'll be very bad for the future of NATO. You mean the future of NATO that you always kept saying was a bad future in the first place because, you know, no one does anything but us? And as a matter of fact, we should pull out of it. We should be dismantled. All those same things he kept talking about. He doesn't think anyone remembers. More. He says, we have a thing called NATO. We've been very sweet. We didn't have to help them with Ukraine. Ukraine is thousands of miles away from us, but we helped them. Is he, or is he negotiating with Vladimir Putin to help put Vladimir Putin in a better position in that Russian invasion of Ukraine, the one that he wouldn't call a war, but he'll call this one a war, finally. More. Now we'll see if they help us, he says, because I've long said that we'll be there for them, but they won't be here for us. And I'm not sure that they'd be there. Well, this would be one of the reasons why. But this is where Trump pivots and then starts talking specifically about one particular country that should really be helping his ass out, because I guess he's always been so respectful. The president also signaled his frustration with the UK after speaking to Britain's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer on Sunday. The UK might be considered the #1 ally, the longest serving, etc. And when I asked for them to come, they didn't want to come. Dummy. And as soon as we basically wiped out the danger capacity from Iran, they said, oh, well, we'll send 2 ships. And then I said, Trump, his dumb ass said, we need these ships before we win, not after we win. I've long said that NATO is a one-way street. He claimed that Iran's military capabilities had been largely decimated in the past 2 weeks of fighting, and it would pose little danger to European allies moving assets into the Gulf. Hey, bro. Hey, Captain Dumbass. If you've decimated their entire military, why do you need help getting the straits open so that you can get more goods through? If it's decimated, if you've done the job, if it's mission accomplished, you're about to head your dumbass home, why is it you need help? It's like he doesn't realize that people can, pay attention to what it is that he keeps doing. The sad news is that he's dumber than most everyone else, because there's the leader, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer. He had some thoughts about all these, demands.
Our priority is always the national interest. And so we have been clear and consistent in our objectives throughout this conflict. First, we will protect our people in the region. Second, while taking the necessary action to defend ourselves and our allies, we will not be drawn into the wider war. And third, we will keep working towards a swift resolution that brings security and stability back to the region and stops the Iranian threat to its neighbors. I want to see an end to this war as quickly as possible, because the longer it goes on, the more dangerous the situation becomes, and the worse it is for the cost of living back here at home.
He's concerned, but he wanted to make one thing clear, even though he was a little dry about it. We will not be drawn into the wider war. That's what he's saying. And the reason Donald Trump always demands and expects all these things, because so many people have always bailed his ass out of so many horrible, stupid situations. He should have been left to flounder and drown in all the things that he's done back in his 30s. But people always help him out, and he always screws them right back over. I wonder if they're going to hold the line of what they're saying they'll do, because, you know, people say things, then they go right back to kissing his ass for some reason. But I do want us to remember this one thing. Don't forget this. Talking to the UK, this was another post from the 7th, from the beginning of this month. What is this? The 16th, from like 9 days ago. The United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them anymore longer, but we will remember. And he also said we don't need people to join wars after we've already won. I mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to get the full scope of the way that this guy's talking. And then he goes flip-flops right back to asking for some help, which leads me to the last little clip here. Here's more of the irony. Remember back in February of 2025, at the beginning of this guy's term, he kept having Volodymyr Zelensky come in, and he and JD Vance were fighting with him and trying to make some good appearances for themselves to look like tough guys, even though he came in saying he was going to end this conflict with Russia invading Ukraine on day 1, 24 hours, 36 hours, maybe even 48. That is if he's really, you know, slacking on his work. When he was in there and they were fighting with Volodymyr Zelensky, Zelensky pointed out at one point, he said, you guys may be talking tough like war is so simple and all this, but one day you just might need some help too. And watch these two bristle and compare it to the way that they're acting right now. This is from February of last year.
During the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless. You
Don't-
will not have
you gotta-
to war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position to
this question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel
I'm-
very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a
Mr.
good
Graham,
position.
I was
You don't have the cards right now.
Ironic, isn't it? You're not in a very good position to be telling us how we may need help one day and how it's not all so cut and dry and simple. But oddly, now this guy is posting, he's truth socialing, he's tweeting, he's begging, he's demanding, he's requesting, he's talking about breaking up NATO because he needs some help. Dumb. If you guys haven't got a chance yet to like this here stream, we do it every day at noon in case you're getting here for the first time, or if you're not here as regularly as I wish you could be. It's here every day on Monday through Friday, noon to 1 o'clock before I then, you know, take off. And specifically today, I'm going to be up on a TDR right afterwards. So let's go ahead and keep this motoring, because sometimes we don't really show the true devastation from another perspective of what's going on with this war, and also the response outside of just what American Western media keeps telling us is going on with this war. I want to share this video from Al Jazeera, because what it is that we're allowing too many people to believe is that what we're doing, specifically in this case, when Israel is striking Lebanon as well, there's humans involved here. I know we call them all terrorists and people that aren't worthy to be alive, but sometimes we need to pay attention to the humans and what is that we're doing to them.
هذا العدو الإسرائيلي كل يوم بيطلع بقول أنا عم بضرب بنية تحتية. هاي البنية التحتية اللي هون شفتوها 4 بنات. أنا عندي 4 بنات، الكبيرة عمرها 13 سنة والصغيرة عمرها 6 سنين، وابن أختي عمره 12 سنة، واستشهد خيي واستشهدت أمي وبي وسهر. خسرت 4 من أولادي، 4 بنات، ما عندي غيرهم. 4 بنات، زينب وزهراء ومليكة وياسمين وأمي وبي. هذا جارك صادق.
I want you to imagine if, like that man, if you guys are listening, he was talking about the way that his family has been murdered. The Lebanese man has been, his whole family was murdered, and he looks like he went through tons right there just from the hit that he took. He lost 4 daughters, lost his mother, his father, his brother-in-law. I believe also his mother-in-law potentially. It's his entire family. I couldn't even keep count of all the people that he listed that he lost. And his questions were, these are your targeted strikes. These are the places that you're hitting that are strategic for your ongoing war, your intensifying and widening war, as Israel is dropping bombs here also on Lebanon. But at what point are we supposed to believe that anyone in this region is supposed to take anything that these folks who are killing, bombing, and calling it liberation are supposed to finally feel like they're on their side? They don't expect it. Israeli bombs don't expect the folks that they're killing and families that they're murdering as they have to carry their young daughters off to bury them, whether or not they're going to be on board with anything. So as we also bomb a bunch of Iranian folks, and Donald Trump's talking about the liberation of the people and they need to rise up now and take back their government, you're killing their children. And where's that investigation for the 175 to 80 school children along with the staff that was murdered in that bomb in Iran? Where's that investigation going? Do we give a damn, or is it just to push it aside until people stop asking that question? And I really hope people don't stop asking that question, because that's what they expect people to do. So in response, do you think the folks who have to deal with that type of stuff will pay attention to what Donald Trump keeps saying with his propaganda, or do you think they'll pay attention to what maybe someone a little bit closer might be saying about a pushback for the murder of their families, because these are human beings? But, you know, we've been told too much propaganda to believe that they just don't exist, I guess.
Well, Russia and China are our strategic partners, and we have had close cooperation in the past, which is still continues, and that includes military cooperation as well. I'm not going into any details of that. Say once again that this is not our war. This is an imposed war against us. We didn't start this war. It was an unprovoked, unwarranted, illegal act of aggression against us, and we are only defending ourselves, and we continue to defend ourselves as much as it takes and as long as it takes in order to end this war in a way that it won't be repeated in the future.
It's the Iranian Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi. So as he's talking about the assistance that he's getting from people like Russian help and also Chinese help, I wonder if Donald Trump has been taking that into effect, or if it's just been him and Pete Hegseth talking about how many more people they can make bleed, how many more people they think they can sell this war to by talking about the death, devastation, and murder of innocent civilians they can pull off. That's the beginning, and that's the end of their entire plan for this. So when you get people like him talking about assistance that they're getting from, oddly, Russia, which we've seen those from strategic types of things, which he even mentioned there. Don't get it twisted. He mentioned including military cooperation. You don't have to believe him, but I feel like when we're not getting much cooperation from anyone else, you can kind of believe the people that are, you know, on the response side of it. Because every time Donald Trump speaks, you see the lies that he's telling. Matter of fact, someone brought up that assistance that Russia is probably giving Iran in this war that Donald Trump started with zero thought process. So Chris Wright, the energy secretary, who's basically a cheerleader, tried to play that down too.
Barry, let's talk about Russia. The Treasury Department temporarily lifting sanctions on Russian oil this week amid reports that Russia is giving Iran intelligence to target U.S. assets in the region. Why is the United States rewarding Russia?
So this is not rewarding Russia. I understand that it can be seen that way.
How else can it be seen?
All of Russia's
but
oil
Mr.
is...
Secretary, how else can it be seen if the U.S. is lifting sanctions on Russia?
Because the oil we're lifting sanction on is already on the water waiting to unload in a Chinese port. But it'll wait there for 6 or 8 weeks. So instead of letting that oil sit there idly, we told the Indians and then the broader nations of Asia, go ahead and buy that oil, bring it into your port now, and keep your refineries running. That oil was already exported, already going to be sold. We're just changing the destination of where it'll be sold. And by doing that, we're keeping a little bit of a lid on oil prices and helping our allies across Asia.
Mr. Secretary, when I pressed the president on...
Was that always the plan, Chris Wright? So you're releasing sanctions on Russian oil, even though they're helping the people that you said are the great evil and everyone in the country is a bunch of terrorists, because you want to keep a lid on oil prices, I feel like you're losing that battle, bro, considering the oil prices continue to rise. But somehow they think that crazy answer about how they're helping the people who he's always helped, despite how many times Vladimir Putin has stabbed him in the chest, back, and face, he keeps helping him. Maybe the next question from Kristen Welker should have been, why is Donald Trump so beholden to Vladimir Putin no matter what it is that he does? Because we see it. Everyone sees it. We're acting like we don't understand how this guy operates and how he drops to his knees every time Vladimir Putin tells him to. And not enough people are asking the question as to why. It's a very simple question, and I know they're not going to give the answer. Instead, like I said, Western media would rather go as they interview people like this foreign minister again, and the questions that they want to ask are never really about how it is that it's going, what it is that's going to happen next, but more, are you like afraid of us? That's all we've got. Really, that's all we've got is, are you afraid of us as we try to murder everyone?
Has Iran asked for a ceasefire?
No, we never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes, and this is what we have done so far, and we continue to do that until President Trump comes to the point that this is an illegal war with no victory, because President Trump wants to have fun. This is what he has said.
Have fun?
We are not. Yes, this is what he said, that they are sinking, ships and targeting different places because it is fun. And the Secretary of War has said that there is no mercy. And this is actually a war crime. Even saying that is a war crime. So this is a war. This is a war of choice by President Trump and the United States, and we are going to continue our self-defense.
You guys noticed Margaret Brennan there, who was hosting the Face the Nation there, she seemed more incensed by him repeating what Donald Trump said about how this is going to be fun to continue just to bomb things for fun. We've already obliterated, decimated everything, but we're going to keep bombing for fun. For fun? Maybe when he says that, you should ask him, did you say for fun, Mr. President? Did you say for fun? Because when someone repeats it for some reason, that's more offensive to her than the guy who said it originally and is using our money, our soldiers, and all of our equipment to then go do it instead. Why isn't it very, offensive to her in any other of these cases? She continued on talking about the potential negotiations. Like I said, the only way you can ask these questions and think that people would answer the way you expect them to is because you think they're subhuman, that they're beneath you.
Well, that may be your position, but sir, this is a war of survival for your government. Minister, don't you have to negotiate and reach out either directly or through a third party?
No, it's not a war of survival. We are stable and strong enough. We are only defending our people from this act of aggression, and we don't see any reason why we should talk with Americans, because we were talking with them when they decided to attack us, and that was for the second time. There is no good experience talking with Americans. We were talking, so why they decided to attack us? So what is good if we go back to talk once again?
What would be the purpose for anyone to negotiate with people who, as they were negotiating, then just started launching attacks? What sense does that make? What would be the purpose of that? What kind of negotiation would that be? Instead, we listened to lying-ass Mike Waltz, who was demoted for being a part of the Signal chat group, who went on Fox News, where they lie all the time, and said that while they were negotiating, the Iranians said, we've got 11 nukes ready to go in like 2 weeks, bro. And we're supposed to believe Mike Waltz. It's weird. You don't have to believe this guy either. I understand the atrocities that this government in Iran has carried out against its own folks. I understand that. So as we've got two groups who like to carry out atrocities against their own folks, I wonder, maybe we shouldn't trust anything anybody says and actually trust what we see, what we hear, and as this whole thing always goes down. Because then, as we got leaders puffing their chests out as Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth keep doing, and then say they're decimated, they're annihilated, they can't even walk or think. Other leaders there start puffing their chests back out too, and this is going to extend it further.
As well as the head of the judiciary, they're all walked in a celebration there, what's called Al-Quds Day, Jerusalem Day, and this is not a regime that is wobbling. I mean, just the fact that they feel the confidence of being able to walk openly in the street is not a regime that is wobbling. So the president coming out and saying that it was over in the first hour, then saying it'll be over when I feel it in my bones, that it's like we've done so much to them. I think at some point people are going to wake up and start questioning whether or not there's any truth to what the president says. And he doesn't even know the difference between an incursion and an excursion.
Yes. It sounds like we're all gallivanting on vacation rather than bombing a country.
Right.
This is why it's important to sound like you know what you're doing, to actually know what you're doing. And then when you speak, not sound like Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump talking about excursions, because no one takes you seriously. So when you talk tough, all we know is that you're bloodthirsty and you're stupid. I think it's more confirmation of reality that most of us with, Trump derangement syndrome always had. But one more clip of this, of the folks in the media asking this foreign minister questions about negotiations, about whether or not you're in a position where you have to just give up everything. And as Donald Trump said, total and complete surrender, or if people are going to actually, stand up for themselves.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
President.
It's just a question and an answer. But why was he so shocked? You're waiting? You're waiting? You mean us bombing constantly like this, and then us now begging for help as far as reopening or getting some kind of cargo through the Strait of Hormuz? What's the matter? Why aren't you afraid of us? We threaten and kill people. That's what we do. Why aren't you bowing down to us yet? The most imperialistic, white supremacist shit you'll ever hear on our mainstream networks, wondering why folks who were murdering indiscriminately, killing their children, aren't just bowing down and going, you're better than me. Why do we have that mindset? That's a rhetorical question. I know why we have that mindset, because people like this guy, after he said he's the peace president, he's not starting any more new wars, and then once he starts a new war, he's not going to send troops on the ground. That is until he starts floating, having troops on the ground. And then when someone asks him a question about the promises that he's broken, he gets all bristly like a little baby.
Very obnoxious president. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
He likes to call him reporters obnoxious for asking him questions. She asked him about sending those 5,000 Marines and sailors then towards Iran to expand this war and potentially put boots on the ground. Is that the plan here? Because it reminded me. I've been wondering since I heard that, because I heard her voice asking the question and Donald Trump called her obnoxious. I'm wondering if it's Ebony McMorris, who, if you guys remember this moment when Donald Trump was sending his, the Gestapo into Memphis, she asked him questions about that too, and he had a very similar answer.
Going into New York too,
Mr. President,
and we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your
Okay.
plans for Memphis? Many people want
I'm not
know
going to
what
talk
the
to you
numbers are
until
gonna
I
be like.
call on you.
What are your plans for
So,
Memphis?
who
Mr.
else? Yeah, go
President?
ahead.
I just want to.
He can't handle when someone isn't afraid of him. That's how he operates. He works in fear and aggression. And because Ebony McMorris is not afraid of him, I really wonder if it was her on the plane too. It's a similar sounding voice. Who knows? Or maybe the courage that you need to just ask your question is spreading. It's actually sad that it's considered courageous to ask a question of a madman who's a murderous dictator type about what he's doing and why he's doing it. Oh, it's so fake news. So I was trying to find if it was her, but if you guys if you want some real reporters, Ebony McMorris is one of them. She's not afraid of this loser, because he loses like every day. We're halfway through this whole thing, you guys. I got 30 minutes left, and I got a couple more things still to go. Let's go ahead and keep motoring down, because as the title of this whole stream here pointed out, what we've got here is a Warmonger Monday. I think that's what I call it, isn't it? either way, let's call it that now. It's Warmonger Monday, the developments over the weekend of Donald Trump's war into Iran, which is only we just finished up our second week, and we've spent tons of money, billions and billions, all that money that he keeps saying that we're somehow getting and making money off of. But when it comes to billions and billions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars, Donald Trump is also using this war, and also more specifically, the service members that he's had killed in this war, to oddly make more money.
Growing criticism tonight after a new fundraising email from President Trump's Political Action Committee used an image from last Saturday's dignified transfer honoring 6 U.S. soldiers killed in the U.S. war with Iran. The email also promises access to private national security briefings.
So this email was sent on Thursday night by Donald Trump's Political Action Committee. It's called Never Surrender. That is the PAC that supports Donald Trump. It's taken over for his campaign. This email was sent out Thursday night, and it's like you said, it promised private national security briefings. And in the middle of that email, there you can see it right there, is that photo from the dignified transfer of the remains of those soldiers who were killed in Kuwait in that Iranian drone strike. And right there, it's sandwiched in between two links that say claim your spot. And if you click on that, it takes you to a donation page for President Trump's Political Action Committee.
So CNN, Andrew Kaczynski there, the K-File series, is talking about how this guy's using the death of these soldiers, the image of him standing there that Fox News didn't want to show with his hat on, as they had this dignified transfer of these fallen soldiers, use it for fundraising purposes. And if you heard the full thing, it wasn't just the use of these dead soldiers. It was also how he's going to give up some national security briefings. Did I hear that part right? Here's the second half.
We did reach out to the White House to ask about this yesterday and the Republican National Committee, and we didn't hear back from either of them asking about this email.
And Andrew, to your knowledge, have presidential security briefings been offered to supporters before?
No, they haven't. And it's not even entirely clear what's going on here, because when you click the link in the actual email, it takes you to a donation page for his PAC asking, and then there's all of this like text from Trump on the actual donation page in like large font asking you to donate like $5, $10, $50,000. It's not clear what this is going to. It's not clear if there are any national security briefings like it says in the email. It really just looks like a way for his PAC to fundraise, frankly.
All right.
One of two things is where that Kaczynski there is talking about. Either he is trying to reveal some kind of national security briefings to people who would give him enough money and rub him under his chin, or he's using it and dangling it out there for idiots to give him 10, 15, 25, 100, 200, 500 bucks that they don't have, so that then it can go to some unknown place, most likely his and his friends' pockets, for them to then wonder where their national security briefings are coming. Dummies upon dummies, I guess. So I've never had a problem with, dummies getting their money stolen by this guy, because if you're that stupid, I guess, you deserve to spend all your money on national security briefings. What's your dumbass random guy in Oklahoma going to do with these national security briefings? Or if they're actually giving out national security briefings, who might they be giving that out to? How would they vet who this person is and where they're coming from, what they need to do with these national security briefings? Who cares? This is Donald Trump. He's a dictator and a fascist. Why would he care about any of that? He's a traitor to this country. But he loves bringing up dead soldiers when it helps him. But when someone else brings up dead soldiers and asks him, so gives him this opportunity to act like he gives a damn, this is what he actually does when reporters ask him these questions.
Do you have a comment on the 6 service members?
Who else?
What do you want to see in the deal? Because earlier you said reportedly that.
Well, you start off with there will be no nuclear weapons. That's where it starts. And then on top of that, there's plenty of things that we're going to get. Thank you very much.
Comment about Israel?
One more time, because it's hard to hear the question. She asked about the fallen soldiers, the 6 soldiers that fell, and watch how quickly he moves on from her.
Do you have a comment on the 6 service members?
Who else?
What do you want to see in the deal? Because earlier you said reportedly that.
do you have a comment on the 6 fallen service members? That's what she asked. He was offended by that. Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief of the greatest military on the face of the earth, is asked about 6 fallen soldiers. Very kindly, actually, more kindly than I would. And he said, whatever. Who else? Because I'm not answering questions about those people that I hate. I'm not answering questions about those folks that apparently make me look bad. But again, as Hegseth said like a week ago, maybe even this is at the very beginning of this whole thing, they're concerned about how Donald Trump looks, but Donald Trump keeps doing things like that. Remember he pointed this out?
This is what the fake news misses. We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
So after that happened, Pete Hegseth realized how bad he looked trying to cover Donald Trump's big ass and how much he was being made look bad by himself. And he continues to. This is again from like a week and a half ago when they were bitching and complaining about making Donald Trump look bad. But right now he's on Air Force One talking about, I don't care about those fallen soldiers. Who else has something to ask me where I can promote myself? But, you know, I think as Hegseth was trying to recoup his image, I guess his own for a moment there, this was the fake concern for fallen soldiers after he, you know, felt some heat.
War is hell. War is chaos. And as we saw yesterday with the tragic crash of our KC-135 tanker, bad things can happen. American heroes, all of them. And as I have with all of them, as we have, we will greet those heroes at Dover, and their sacrifice will only recommit us to the resolve of this mission. But war in this context and in pursuit of peace is necessary, which is why each day on bended knee, we continue to appeal to heaven, to Almighty God's providence, to watch over and give special skill and confidence to our leaders and to our warriors. To those warriors who this nation prays for every single day, I hear from all of you out there who pray for them every day. Stay on bended knee and pray for them. I continue to say to them, Godspeed. May the Lord bless you and keep keep going.
I don't think that works either. So the solution to bitching and complaining and screaming at the media about how they're trying to make Donald Trump look bad for not giving a damn about fallen soldiers is to say, bad things happen. Now let's pray. Bad things happen, but we want God to honor you and keep you. Bad things happen, but Donald Trump also then said that all of the families of these fallen soldiers came to him and said, finish the job. Remember that too? How many more times is Donald Trump going to make himself look bad? But then every time someone asks him about how he's making himself look bad, he does this weird thing like he goes and makes himself look even worse. That's how he operates. He gets away with everything. And Pete Hegseth is the one who's probably going to catch the heat. He's the one who's the dum-dum who's saying the same things and doesn't get the same Teflon Don treatment somehow that, you know, the loser in the White House actually gets. But again, this shouldn't be surprising. Everyone knows this about him. Everyone knew this about him a long time ago. Everyone knew this about him when he was talking trash about dead soldiers before, and he called them suckers and losers. That is before he denied it and then, you know, ends up confirming it by continuing to talk trash about service members. This is from a while ago. His former chief of staff, John Kelly, from his first term, said this. This is in addition to the fascist talk that we also ignored.
The first time ever, Kelly sets the record straight with on-the-record confirmation of a number of damning details about Donald Trump from background sources, including from a 2020 Atlantic story reported with unnamed sources by editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, including the stunning detail that Trump turned to Kelly on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery in 2017 and asked, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" This is Kelly confirming on the record stories of Trump insulting Senator John McCain and former President George H.W. Bush because in Vietnam and in World War II, respectively, the former aviators were shot down. Kelly describes Trump as, quote, a person that thinks those who defend their country in uniform or are shot down, or seriously wounded in combat, or spend years being tortured as POWs are all, quote, suckers because, quote, there is nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good for me. A person that demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families on TV during the 2016 campaign.
Isn't that weird? He disparaged Gold Star families again by putting words in their mouth. He also talked about how much he doesn't care about these soldiers by brushing this person aside. He had Pete Hegseth go and berate the media for asking about dead soldiers. He had Fox News, I'm not sure if he personally did, but Fox News took their initiative as state-run media to make sure they covered up his appearance at one of these dignified transfers where he was wearing a hat, and they complained so much about Obama holding a cup of coffee and Joe Biden flipping up his his salute really fast. But in order to hide all that stuff, they've been trying to help his ass out the whole time because that's what they expect media to do. So if we can understand what John Kelly was saying there before, why couldn't we also understand what John Kelly was saying as far as him being a fascist was also true? I mean, that was been proven out in the past year and 2 months here, because this guy's been running this entire country as a fascist nation. Do we believe him yet? You know what? Don't believe John Kelly. I take that back. Don't believe him. Listen to this round-faced, sorry sumbitch from back in 2015 or so, proving it himself.
And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
I don't think he needs any help looking bad. He never has needed help looking bad. What he's needed help with actually is looking good. And there's always someone walking around on their knees to make sure he looks, I guess, in their mind, good, because he actually has never looked good. But, we're a nation of a bunch of racists that are willing to vote for this guy and be fooled into thinking that he's nothing else besides that racist bigot that he is. But speaking of people walking around on their knees, did you guys hear this? It was odd because I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Apparently, when they were talking about their decision to invade Iran, start bombing Iran because it'd be so easy, it'll take like 24 hours. Apparently, there was one guy who wasn't too jazzed on that idea. I was actually surprised by it. It was JD Vance. But now that they're doing it, JD Vance done, he done gotten scared.
Press. What did you advise the president initially as he considered his actions in Iran, and what are you urging him to do now, especially with Americans seeing higher prices at the pump and some of the fallout from that across the economy? Do you express any concerns like those you've expressed in the past on the possibility of these extended wars?
Well, Bill, I appreciate the question. I know you guys have to ask it, but imagine the situation. We're in the situation room where you can't even take your iPod in there, or your AirPods, I guess what they're called. You can't take your iPhone in there. You can't take anything in there because it is the most classified space anywhere in the world. And I sit there with Pete Hegseth and General Kane and Marco Rubio and the entire White House team, and the president and I and the entire senior team are talking about the options and about what we need to do and about how we must best protect the American people. I hate to disappoint you, but I'm not going to show up here and in front of God and everybody else tell you exactly what I said in that classified room, partially because I don't want to go to prison, and partially because I think it's important for the president of the United States to be able to talk to his advisors without those advisors running their mouth to the American media. Thank you all.
JD Vance thinks he's going to be president. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is a dumb country, probably. This guy, wherever he goes, why does JD Vance always need like a traveling applause line? It's like an old sitcom from the 80s and 90s. He has a walking like applause group of people that are supposed to clap every time he says something like anything. Well, he thanks them for it. Thank you. Thank you. I just said I'm afraid of Donald Trump. I just said I was the one person who was thinking differently than the stupid shit that he's doing, and now I'm apologizing for it. Matter of fact, I'm not going to give you guys any information because what I probably said was, are you sure? And then Donnie flipped his head at me and I said, okay, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. What a loser this guy is. He thinks he looks powerful walking around with an entourage of applause people. Also, by the way, apparently in these secret rooms, you can't take your iPod in there. Or he meant AirPods. What would AirPods have to do with any of this? Maybe there's some technology in AirPods that I don't know about. Or maybe, in case, maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe JD Vance just says the same thing over and over and over again. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
What we're doing.
Mr. Vice President, the president said earlier this week that you had a philosophical difference than him, that you were less enthusiastic on the onset of this war. Is that true? And what is your opinion of how it's going?
Well, I think you guys, again, I answered this question earlier. I'm sorry about that, Taylor. You asked this question earlier. When you're thinking about a major decision like this, the way the president makes these decisions is he talks to a lot of people. Obviously, we're thinking about various ins and outs, various options, what this looks like, how to accomplish our goals, what our goals should be. And I think it's important for the president of the United States to be able to have that conversation with his team without his team then running their mouth to the American media. So part of what makes our national security team so cohesive is that we all trust each other, and we all have a very free exchange of ideas. I'd like to keep that going. Thank you, guys.
And then he ran his little sorry ass off to the plane again. What is it about the most transparent administration in history that has kept calling themselves, I guess, to this point, where you can have the vice president then to say, we're so cohesive and talk together so much that none of us are going to go off and run our mouths to the media like your little children. Run your mouths to the media? You mean have transparency in what you're doing with our tax dollars and with our family members that are going off to fight in this stupid ass war? It's running your mouth now to the media. To talk to the American people honestly about what it is that's happening is running your mouth to the media. I have the feeling that when he was floating this, and whoever it was that told him it's the right time to go into war, I heard it was Netanyahu. I feel like this is the most accurate depiction of what is that happened. That JD Vance is too afraid of going to prison to let us know. Trump said, this was NBC News, Trump said that he was surprised. This fool was surprised that Iran decided to attack other Middle Eastern countries in response to our operation bombing that country, and that the U.S. strikes in Karg Island on Saturday, quote, totally demolished most of the island, but that we may hit it a few more times, just for fun, like we're doing everywhere else. Everything is for fun. But the main thing here you should remember is Donald Trump, as reported by NBC News, was surprised. And it wasn't just reported by NBC News because they decided to say it. It's because Donald Trump said so. The president said Saturday that U.S. allies in the Middle East, including the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, have, quote, been terrific. And they got shot at unnecessarily. Here's that surprise line. I was very surprised, he said about Iran targeting these other Middle Eastern countries. And he also added, it was the biggest surprise I had of this whole thing. It probably was, but I feel like the next biggest surprise was that they decided to start, limiting shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, which is also busting his ass, which has him begging for help, which has him complaining every day, which also has him going back off to Mar-a-Lago and golfing because he doesn't really give a damn about any of this stuff. But this energy of this administration started by this vice president that I started off with talking about how much of a, I guess, smiley guy he is when someone asks him directly about this indiscriminate death of people, the murder of 175 children and staff members in this school, to our billions and billions worth of taxpayer dollars that are going to this, to the deaths of American servicemen and women. It's weird that he can smile about it because he's just afraid of Donald Trump. This is another one of those hokey moments when he thinks he's telling this fun story about how much of an asshole the president is.
My friends, the president is impatient. He's the most impatient person I have ever met, in fact. He constantly is pressing on the gas. He wants us to do more, but I stand here proud to say that after the first year of President Donald Trump and congressional Republicans' leadership, we are rebuilding the American dream, and we are taking back this country for the people of this state.
He's not even good at doing weird, stupid campaigning in the middle of their term. How many folks out there feel like he's taking back the country? Who are you taking it back from, bro? You got the executive branch, you've got the Congress, both houses in Congress, both House and the Senate in Congress, and you have a hiccup every once in a while in the judicial system, but they're taking the country back because Donald Trump is an impatient piece of shit, and everyone there is afraid of him. It's odd. They're so afraid of him. There's a little fun moment that I discovered. JD Vance is afraid of Donald Trump. Apparently, also, so is Marco Rubio and the rest of this cabinet. That's why Marco Rubio sits in that couch and sinks slowly, deeper and deeper into it. He also flops around. If you hear the sound of flip flops walking around behind Donald Trump, it's not his ass cheeks clapping. What it is, it's apparently Marco Rubio's shoes.
Take a close look at Secretary Rubio's shoes. They are visibly too big. People on the internet are guessing that this is because President Trump has been racking up orders for his team from the American shoe company Florsheim. He has his own pair and he keeps buying more.
I walk into the Oval Office and Marco and I are sitting there talking with the president about something. He says, stop. And he looks at our shoes and says, you guys have terrible shoes. He goes and gets a shoe catalog and gets his favorite shoes and orders like 4 pairs of shoes for me and 4 pairs of shoes for Marco because he's like, we need our vice president or secretary of state to look their very best.
Vice President Vance also said that Trump actually asks people their shoe size, but according to the Wall Street Journal, Trump likes to guess the size, then he has an aide place an order, and he sometimes signs the box or attaches a note. Trump pays for the shoes himself, the White House says. And one female White House official told the Journal, it's hysterical because everybody's afraid not to wear them.
And when she says everyone's afraid not to wear them, Marco Rubio apparently wears a size 6, and Donald Trump got him like a size 8. It's like, Marco, you look like you're about a size 8, apparently much smaller, as they had the discussion when they were running against each other before. Maybe it all pans out. I don't know. But this is the only way. This many people, after the few guardrails were up during his first term, and he probably wanted to do all this as well, they've allowed him then to do all this. They've allowed him to then tell everyone, I don't like your fucking shoes. I'm going to buy you other shoes, and then you're going to wear them. And everyone's too afraid to not wear the shoes that are too big. These are the tough guys that stand in front of microphones and say, we're big and bad, and don't you dare threaten us. Don't you dare speak back to us. Don't you ask us any questions. But they're walking around with shoes that are bouncing around off their feet because they're too afraid of the old guy who shits his pants and paints his face. That's who we're afraid of. Isn't that weird? Doesn't that make us like a weak country to be following behind this guy? Last clip before I get out of here, you guys, because this one was funny to me. More members of this guy's cabinet. I'm going to go back to Christopher Wright, who's the energy secretary, right? He's asked about Donald Trump's war that they're following him into, that they're all afraid to do and say anything different about. And when asked specifically about some of the consequences of this guy's war, considering this particular case, gas potentially going up as high as possible, check out the response that Chris Wright has. And think about how much his stomach must be turning to try and avoid Donald Trump's anger.
A barrel of oil closed above $103 on Friday, and the Iranians are warning of prices hitting $200 a barrel. Mr. Secretary, should Americans be bracing for, should they be worried that this war will actually drive the price of oil above $200 a barrel?
So Iran for 47 years has called the United States the Great Satan. So because they call us the Great Satan, I don't think we are the Great Satan. In fact, clearly we're not. So I don't listen much to Iranian projections of what's going to happen.
So that's a no?
There is disruptions of
that a
flow
no?
in a very important waterway.
Wait a second. Chris Wright's answer to the question of whether or not oil you think is going to get it over $200 a barrel, because that's what the people who are controlling, this waterway that we can't get anything through, that is, unless we, have sent ground troops in. She asked him, what do you think about the potential of oil going to $200 a barrel? They call us the great Satan. I don't think we're the great Satan. Donald Trump, you don't think we're the great Satan, do you? Hey, Donald Trump, is that okay that I said that I don't think we're the great Satan? And then after we don't think we're the great Satan, that means we shouldn't believe anything about oil prices going up, because apparently Iran calling us the great Satan is affecting oil prices. Somebody get this entire band of dumb fucks, please, out of government. They're destroying everything here, but you know what? Maybe that's what we deserve. We voted these dumbasses in, and that's what we've got now. What I've got is like 4 minutes before I'm jumping over on TDR. So let me go ahead and dive out of here. I mean, good thing I jumped in a few minutes earlier. This would have been really tight, right? Matter of fact, I feel like they think it's already really tight. But you know what? Let's stay cool. Calm down, you guys. I'll see you in a couple minutes over there. It's been fun, I guess. Maybe more revealing than fun. But let's move on. I'll catch you guys in a couple minutes over on the damage report. Thanks for coming by. If you haven't liked the stream yet, please like it. I did it a little bit earlier. Like it, subscribe. Also, these videos are going to be up later on the channel. Come find them as well too, in case you missed a little bit something. Maybe you came in late. I'd appreciate it. But also, I'll see you guys in a minute. And happy Monday again. It is still the best damn day of the week.